Hi everyone, today I'll be showing you how to make a bandless midi straight skirt. I'll be showing you how to measure it, how to cut, and how to sew a bandless midi straight skirt. Mind you, you don't have to limit whatever you're seeing in this video to just midi skirt. Same thing applies to you making it as a long skirt, a short skirt, or a midi dress. But come along with me, let me show you how to measure it, how to draft the pattern, also how to make a bandless straight midi skirt. Now let me show you how to do the measurement for the bandless straight skirt. So you put your measuring tape right on the waist. Mind you, I'm showing you how to do bandless straight skirts. Some could be high waist, while some on the normal waist. But today we are doing the one on the right waist. So here is the waist for this mannequin. I measure from the waist to my preferred length. If it is midi, it will be here. If it's long, the full length of this mannequin gives me 42. If it's a short skirt, 18. If it's knee length, 22. So whatever length you prefer is what you're going to measure. After doing the full length of the skirt you want, you go across the waist this way. You measure. You make it firm as much as possible, but not too tight, not too loose, but slightly firm. After you measure the waist, the next thing to measure is the bum area, which is called the hip. You measure the hip as well, not too tight, not too loose, but at least as firm as this. After taking the measurements, for you that wants to apply this method to a long skirt, that's a full straight pencil skirt, you need to include your skirt half length. That is, you put your measurement tape right on the waist here, and you go straight down to the half length of the client of the mannequin. You take the measurement. After taking the measurement, the next thing to do is to draft our pattern. So let me show you how to draft the pattern for the bandless straight skirt. Mind you, you have to consider the horizontal measurement same as the vertical measurement. But I'm going to start with the vertical measurement here, which is the skirt length. I've got my measurement here. My waist is 28, my hip is 40, and the skirt length I'm using is also 18. So I put my measurement tape right here. Don't forget to include your seam allowance, which is 1 inch here. Then I start with my measurement. The preferred skirt length measurement is 18. Chalk 18 here. Also, I'll include my seam allowance. Let's do the horizontal measurement. This is the upper part of the skirt, and this is the lower part of the skirt. Let's join our dots together first before we do the horizontal measurement. Roll this way also. Mind you, for some, they tend to measure the hip distance to get the exact hip line. So for this measurement, which is obviously a size 8, this is the hip distance measurement, which is 7.5. That is, this is our waist here. The distance between our waist and our hip is 7.5. This 7.5 does not apply to every measurement. This is just for a size 8 measurement. For a client with bigger hips, obviously the hip distance will differ in measurements. So let's join this dot as well. So now that we are done with the vertical measurements, let's go to the horizontal measurement. But before we do the horizontal measurement, I'd like to label this line so we understand properly. That's with the waistline. For my measurements here, I have 28 as the waistline measurement. So 28 divided by 2 will give me 14. 14 divided by 2 will give me 7. Mind you, this is the front of the skirt, while this will be the back of the skirt. Hence, why I divide the measurement itself into 4, which gives me 7. That is, 28 divided by 4 will give me 7, which means 7 is our new measurement for the waist. Then, I come here and measure 7. After these 7 measurements, I'm supposed to include my dart allowance or my dart inches, which is 1. I hope you understand me. After putting 7 here as the waist measurement, the waist measurement is 28. divided by 4, which gives me 7, which I've marked here already. And after that, I will include my dart allowance. My dart allowance here is 1 inch. After including my dart allowance, I'm going to include my seam allowance as well. Some do 1.5, some do 1 inches, some do 2, some do 1, some do 2 inches. But for today, I'm going to include 1 inches as a dart allowance. After measuring the waist, the next thing I do is the hip line. The hip measurement here gives me 40. 40 divided by 2 will give me 20. 20 divided by 2 will give me 10. 10 is now our new measurement for the front part of the skirt. I hope you understand what I'm trying to achieve here. This is the front part of the skirt. This is one part, this is the second part, which gives me 2 parts. Hence why I divided the measurement into 4, because I still have to consider the back measurement as well. So now I have the hip divided by 4, which gives me 10. 10 is the new measurement for the hip line. So here, I'll chalk 10. After chalk 10, I won't include my dart allowance here, no, because your dart is only applied on the waist, not on the hip. The next thing I'll do here is to measure my seam allowance. Remember that our seam allowance for the waist is 1.5 inches. So same thing applies to this place. I'll include my 1.5 inches. Then, what we have here is the exact length of the skirt length. Our skirt length for today's lesson is 18, which I measured from this distance here to this distance here, which gives me 18. But right here is the same allowance. For me, I have a standard measurement I use for this knee part. That is for the round knee of the skirt. Most times for size 8, please listen carefully. For size 8 upwards, that is size 8, size 10, size 12, I deduct 4 inches from the hip measurement. That is, to get my round knee, I'll deduct 4 inches from the 40 here, which is the hip measurement. So 40 minus 4, that will give me 36. Hope you understand what I'm trying to do there. So now I have 36 here, which means my round knee measurement gives me 36. 36 divided by 2 gives me 18, right? 18 divided by 2 will give me 9. So which means my round knee here give me 9 inches. Then I'll chalk to 9. After that, I'll include my seam allowance, which is 1.5 inches. Remember that we also added 1.5 inches here for seam allowance, same here for seam allowance, right on the round knee also for seam allowance. But we have a dart allowance here, which I didn't include on the hip line, neither on the knee, because you only apply your dart on the waist to firm the waistline to give the skirt a proper shape. Now that we've done this, let's join our dots together. This is done. Now that I've gotten my measurements for the front, the next thing to do is to get my measurements to sketch my pattern for the back as well. This is the exact measurement for the front. Then I place this measurement as well on the back. But before I draft any pattern for the back, let's trim out the excess fabric here. Okay. Also, we have excess here as well. So the next thing to do now is to cut the back of the skirt. So the next thing I do here is I place the skirt right here. I'll trace out my measurement here. When you draft your pattern for the back, you have to consider the zip allowance, which is very important. Some use 1 inch for their zip allowance, some 1.5, some 2 inches. But for this lesson today, I prefer if we use 1.5 inches for zip allowance. So, chalk your 1.5. The next thing to do now is to join my dots. Mind you, this is the zip allowance for the back. So now that we've gotten a zip allowance, let's trim out the skirts. That's the exact skirt measurement we need for the back. So also, remember that the length is longer than the front. So next thing we do is we make the length equal as well. Now we have the front, we have the back. The next thing to do is to divide this back into two. Now you have the pattern for your bandless midi straight skirt. But before I show you how to do the waistline, let me show you how to hem the bum area of your skirt. That is, you know that there are some skirts that when you see them, the back side, which is the zip allowance, is properly laid, no excess at the back, which means it helps lift the bum up a little bit. Here is how I do mine. What I do is, the standard zip distance here can be 8 or 10. But for this lesson, let's make it 8 inches. Don't forget that we still have our 1 inch here as seam allowance. So now that we've gotten our zip allowance, I'll rule it as well. Remember that for a skirt like this, you can either put a slit there or not. It's your choice. But for today's lesson, I'm going to include slits. Considering that this skirt is a short skirt, which means the slit length can't be too long. So we're going to use 3.5 inches for the slit length. So here, let me label this as zip allowance, then back slits. I'll roll this as well. Now, in order to achieve what I just explained about the back, that is making your skirt lift up the bum at the back, it's a simple way. All I do is I bring my roller down right here, I place it this way, I roll. Like in a dart form. So this root part here is what I trim out. Mind you, this bottom part is the slits. And the only reason I'm trimming this part at the back of the skirt is to lift the bum really up so it doesn't give us any excess or folds at the back. This way. After trimming, it comes in a dart form. This way. So now that this is done, this is what we have. This is the front of the skirt. Right? And this is the back part of the skirt. So right now, I'm about to show you 2 different ways to make your bandless straight skirt. Let me start with this one. Here, I have my fabric here and the lining. That is, for this method, you have to cut your lining and your fabric as well. After doing that, you make sure that the edges are equal. That is, you trim both fabric and the lining equally. No excess, no deduction. After that, the next thing you do is, remember that when we were drafting our pattern for the skirts, we included 1 inch sewing allowance for the bottom part, same as the waist part. But right now here, the next thing to do is, I'll measure my 1 inch for the bottom part, that's the knee area, then I fold. After folding, I'll iron flat. Don't forget that the best iron to use for this is steam iron. Same thing goes for the second one as well. Mind you, don't restrict yourself to just 1 inch alone. You can do 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. At least I feel the highest you should do is 4 inches, nothing higher than 4 inches. After that is done, I'll cross-check if the length is equal, that is, both back measurement length is equal, so it doesn't give me a wrong measurement when I eventually shape the skirt. So from what I have here, I think it's equal. After this is done, I put my lining on it, then I trim out the excess. Mind you, I don't want the lining and the fabric same length. I prefer to make the tip of my skirt this way while I reduce the length of the lining. Some don't do it this way, but this is the method I use, which always comes out good. You can try it as well to see the results while you make up your mind on which one you prefer. So after that is done, the next thing I do is trim. But before trimming, consider to at least put like a 1/4 inch for the sewing allowance. So now that is done, the next thing to do is my dart. How do you dart your skirt? Your darting might be different from mine, but let me show you how I dart my skirt. The first thing I do is I fold into 2 this way, equal half, then I iron. This line will help me figure out how to fold my dart and how to measure my dart. Remember that when we were drafting the pattern as well, we included 1 inch for the dart allowance. So this is what I do next. After ironing the middle, which is this way, next thing I do is I tilt this downwards a bit. That is, the distance between what you've ironed before and here will give you that 1 inch. I iron it as well. Next thing I do is to chalk my dart. I prefer to use 8 inches for my dart length. So from here, I'll chalk 8. You can do 9, you can do 9.5, you can do 10. Depends on your choice. But I prefer to do 8 inches. Remember the 1 inch for the dart allowance when we were drafting our pattern. Right here, you chalk it. Then you join your dots together. So now I have my darts chalked. Same thing applies to the second one as well. I fold into equal half, then I tilt it by 1 inch. I measure the length of the dart I want, which is 8 inches. Then I chalk. Next thing, make sure you iron so the exact shape you need doesn't shift. I pick my lining as well. I do the same thing. I'll show you the first method with the back of the skirt. This is the front of the skirt that I'm going to show you for the second method. So, first thing I do is, obviously, you iron your skirt. Make it really smooth. Then, I'll cut my facing for the band. Mind you, for this one, we're not going to line the skirt at all. The only thing we're going to put on this skirt to achieve the bandless is to cut facing to the waistline of the skirt. So now, here's the facing to the waistline of the skirt. Right here. After trimming out the facing, I'm going to roll my dart. Next thing I do is, I'll iron the middle, just like I did the back of the skirts. Then, I open the skirts. I am going to chalk my darts at the back side of the fabric, not at the front side. Never chalk the front part of your fabric because some stains don't tend to leave until you wash the clothes. So right here now, what I'll do is, now that I've ironed the middle part of the clothes, the next thing I'll do is, I'll fold this way. I'm going to fold the half part of the skirt into 2, just like I did for the back. After folding into 2, I'll iron it. This is to understand the distance between the middle parts of the skirt and the dart line. There's a particular point where the dart must be. Your dart can't be too close to your hip, neither can it be too close to the middle part of the skirt. The dart has to be in between the middle part of the skirt and the hip part of the skirt. Hence why I ironed the one side of the skirt this way. So after doing this, the next thing I do is I fold, just like I did the back as well. Remember, our measurement for the dart allowance is 1 inch. Then I chalk. After chalking it, for me, I prefer to do the slant darts, unlike the straight darts. They both will give you same results, but personally, I prefer my darts this way. So, now that we've chalked the 1 inch for the dart allowance, next thing I'm going to do is to chalk the dart length. Remember that for the back, we did 8 inches for the dart length. So I'm going to chalk 8 inches here. And the next thing I'm going to do is to join my dots together. This is like a 2-in-1 lesson, because I'm teaching you how to make a bandless skirt with facing, a bandless skirt with lining, and also how to dart your skirt properly. It's even like a 3-in-1 class. So this is done. Same thing applies to the other half of the skirt. Mind you, this is the middle of the skirt. This is one half of the skirt. This is the other part of the skirt. So like I said, I'm going to fold into two this way. I'll iron. You open it up. The next thing you do is tilt the fabric this way. After doing that, mind you, whatever measurement you have here must be the same thing for the other side. What do I mean by that? After folding the second side, cross-check the folds very well. For this one now, the distance here after the first fold, I have 3¾ here. But if you look at this, it is quite smaller compared to this, which means this is wrong. I need to readjust it to give me the exact shape I have here. In case whereby this is the exact measurement you want to use, then you adjust this one. But for this lesson, I prefer to use this measurement. So I have to adjust this to what I have here. But no matter the adjustment you are trying to achieve, this place must be your standard measurement. Don't alter what is here, because if you alter what is after sewing, it won't give you the same outcome. So let me cross check what I have now. So I have my 3¾ complete right now. So let me iron flat so the measurement stays. I don't have to start readjusting it. So now my dart has been ironed. The next thing is to chalk my measurements. Remember we said 1 inch. 1 inch here. My dart length 8 inches. Then I join my dots together. So let's open up what we have here. Can you see? This is how I dart my skirts. This is the back as well. This is how I dart my skirts. So next thing to do now is to take the skirt to the sewing machine, run the dart, join the lining, put the facing and shape as skirts. Come along with me. Let's sew our darts and the skirts.